Welcome to the presentation of the new English textbook, Best Friends 2. We are here with one of the co-authors, Silvina Enrico, and I'm Pablo Millana. I'll be your guest for today. We'll be guiding you through the process of understanding how to use this textbook. So finally, this book is ready.
Yes, you are right. The book is already finished. And the idea underlying this project is to provide English teacher with a tool within a Christian educational framework. We'd also want to emphasize the idea and to make teachers and students realize that English has become a tool to communicate worldwide. So we try to avoid the idea of connecting English just with only English-speaking countries. So we'd like to share this book with all our colleagues in South America, and we hope you really like it and enjoy it.
Now, how is the Christian framework integrated and developed through this textbook?
Well, the Christian educational framework is developed horizontally and vertically. Horizontally, integration of faith and teaching is portrayed through the close relationship that the characters of the book experience with him. This relationship is shown in their daily activities and in their daily lives. Vertically, it is portrayed and presented through the stories from the Bible. In this opportunity, the central theme is friendship.
Okay, now what's the final goal? What does this book intend to achieve?
Well, first of all, the book is a tool that intends through its aim to provide English teacher with a tool within a Christian educational framework to allow the students develop Christian value while learning English, but first of all, to let the students be aware that Jesus is their creator, protector, and friend. Through its design to emphasize the concept of Jesus as the center of our lives. Through its textbook to provide a balance among spiritual, cognitive, physical, and social dimensions and to develop language skills. Through its activities to develop a student's minds in the acquisition of a second language, to learn through practice and by doing physically, to interact with peers, and to see Jesus as part of our lives.
Now, in this context, one of the main questions is how to approach learning.
Well, integration of faith and teaching is better done through your own example. You, as a teacher, start the class with a prayer, or when introducing a new topic, it is better to establish relationship and connections. For example, if you're about to teach wild animals, what is better is to let students realize that Jesus has created the animals. Another important thing is when the school year is starting. Especially young learners feel a little unease in the class, and if they are newcomers also is stronger. So the idea is to let students know that they are not alone, that you are there to support them, but mainly that Jesus is taking care of them all the time.
I imagine that also it must be very important to know the student's background.
Of course, what children brings to the class is very important for teachers, since it allows us to create and design activities in which students can get really involved. But apart from that, it helps us to establish connections, and these facilitate learning.
Now, what topics should be taught and practiced in class?
Well, there must be a close relationship between theory and practice. What is taught should be practiced, but these topics should be significant for students. You have to teach topics that they are really familiar with, such as experiences, their daily lives, or family, or the school, or their neighborhood.
Now, what other factors should be taken into account when teaching?
Well, there are many other factors, but just to mention a few of them, one important thing is the development of creativity. Children come to the class with developing potential, and apart from that, they are developing thinking skills. So as teachers, we have to work in order to let those potential emerge. Yes, other factor that is very important is to keep and maintain a happy working environment, because in this way, students feel engaged in purposely designed activities, and at the same time they keep engaged and motivated to learn. There are other factors that should be taken into account when teaching. Respect towards students' differences. God has given us different talents and abilities that make us unique. Children are unique in the way in which they contribute to the class, what they bring to the class, but also in the way they learn. So as teachers, we must seek for different techniques and strategies in order to cater for these learning styles. Development of creativity, taking values. It is unlikely to talk about rights and responsibilities explicitly with children, but it's important to model through your own behavior that the way you value this. Respect cannot be taught explicitly either, but it can be modeled in all your behavior, such as using a student's name, being polite, recognizing their participation and their contribution to the class. One of the most important values that we should develop in children is service. Teachers should generate different situations in which students can render service to their peers and to anyone that surrounds them. How to do this? They should realize that service is conveyed in different and simple ways. For example, it is conveyed by being cooperative, tolerant, or by preparing something for someone else, such as a car, or by simply paying attention to their teacher or classmates.
Language teachers are always worried about the entry level of their students and the level which they are working towards.
Well, Best Friends, the series, has been designed to introduce students to the pleasure of learning English and enable them to improve their level throughout the 3 books in the series. Best Friends 1, 2, and 3. The books have been written taking into consideration all the proposals in the Common European Framework. However, the Common European Framework has been developed with older students in mind, and the context and scope and domains are a little different and also more limited in scope. But the Common European Framework provides the common reference levels which offer the differences in the stages of what students can do in their process of learning, especially at different levels.
Now, in this book specifically, what's the level of this book to give more information to the teachers?
Well, the book had been written with a level below A1 or a little beyond it. The activities designs are for students to work towards that level, not that the students have already attained this level.
Now, if the students would want to take an international English test, which one would be more suitable for them?
Well, in terms of recognized public young learners English exams, which students can be working towards, the books, the series, I insist, correspond to Cambridge ESOL Starters and Trinity Grade 1.
Now, how can a teacher teach this book if his class is formally divided in groups?
Well, Pablo, you know that in all English language classes you have a difference in competence and performance. There are weak students and strong students. For some reasons, there are schools which prefer to split these classes into 2 groups, the weaker and the stronger. But even though that this brings a lot of benefits working with less heterogeneous class, we have to bear in mind student self-esteem as being labeled, especially those of the weaker students. So, as the authors of the book, we recommend to use the book, the same book, in both groups. In which way? With weaker students, teachers should follow the student's book and the core syllabus, and with strong students, they should follow the student's book plus all the activities, games, and extensions that have been designed and provided in the teacher's guide. This brings the opportunity to use the book and reassign students, because we as teachers know that children and students, our students, learned with a different pace, and we can reassign students if they cannot keep up with the rest of the class, and we avoid asking parents to buy another book in the middle of the school year.
Characteristics of the book and its components. Best Friends 2 has been designed to meet 7 to 8-year-old needs. The syllabus. It has been designed to suit students' age and level of cognition. The language is recycled throughout the units to allow students to practice it in different situations. Let's talk about language skills.
Well, language skills are divided into two major groups: reading and writing, and listening and speaking. Listening and speaking skills. In Best Friends 2, emphasis has been given to develop listening and speaking skills. Through listening to English, young learners are naturally led to speaking. Listening skills are developed before speaking skills and have a priority over oral production, since at this age, students do not master the language, and forcing them to speak can increase their anxiety. Initially, children will benefit from activities that require a lot of repetition and which help them memorize the vocabulary and chunks of language in a natural way. It is important to provide a framework for speaking activities which encourage them to use English for a real purpose.
What about reading and writing?
Well, Best Friends 2 provides support and scaffolding for young learners to be gradually introduced to reading and writing skills.
Generally speaking, reading and writing in English are introduced gradually after basic literacy has been established in their native tongue. Besides, eye-hand coordination is still being developed at this age.
Reading competence involves constructing meaning and making sense of the written text. This includes sight recognition of common, high-frequency vocabulary, of syntactic pattern, and word order within a sentence.
How can we initiate the process of teaching reading skills?
Well, first of all, teachers should create an English print environment. That is to say, labeling pictures so that students can associate the picture and the written word. Another important thing is to read regularly with the students so that they develop the pleasure of reading. And this is very important because students can benefit from this pleasure of reading in the use of language, especially if they are learning a second language. Another key factor is to create and design activities that are meaningful for them and with a real purpose for writing or reading. Reading provides a scaffold for learning to write. The emphasis in initial writing is to support and consolidate oral work, but activities must be meaningful and engaging.
Best Friends 2 components. There is a teacher's guide, a student's book, and an audio CD. The teacher's guide is online and includes the theoretical background, methodology, characteristics of young learners, useful topics that are intended to teachers' development, table of contents, and fully developed lessons that includes objectives, target language, receptive language, recycle language, warm-up activities, activity development, extra activities and games, follow-up activities, extension, and audio script. Now let's talk a bit about the student's book.
Well, the book is divided into 12 sections. An introduction, 6 topics-based unit, and a general review, and then you have special features. In these special features, you can find special days, cutouts, the flashcards, and also stickers.
Well, that's a lot of sections. How can we identify them?
Well, the sections can be easily identified since colors are used to divide each section and also to divide each unit of the book.
Oh, that's great. That way the students can identify them by easily looking at the book.
Yes, you are extremely right.
Okay.